What if I was a gym leader? Was a trend I wanted to hop onto when it was popular a few years ago, but I didn't for whatever reason. So now that it's made a resurgence recently with this Gymsona thing going on, I thought I'd better strike while the iron is hot instead of wait for it to burn out like last time. If I was a gym leader, I'd want to be a ground type gym leader. If you had asked me when I was a kid, I would have definitely chosen grass as my type due to how it houses many of my favorite Pokemon, and the fact that it is the type that was the embodiment of nature. I've always had this love for the natural rainforest that I call home in the Appalachian Mountains. From its beautiful rivers to its incredible diversity of life, and of course the scenic views from the top of these hills that reach into the heavens, it's an inspiration to me as a creator and a lover of our planet. But as I've grown older, I've realized that there is a type that is a better embodiment of my home in the whole world itself, along with having even more of my favorite Pokemon within it, and that's the ground type. A very unrepresented type, with its most popular user being known for owning Pokemon that aren't ground type. Hell, even Team Magma, a ground type evil team, is mistaken for a fire type team all the time, even though lava and magma are melted rock and aren't related to fire at all. So yeah, I'm a ground type specialist, and though I do prefer my gym leaders to use more variety in their teams with mixed typings instead of relying on a single one, I will for the most part stick to the rules of this challenge. And besides, I've had a team in mind for years that just so happens to follow the rules anyway, so I might as well. In my head, I've always envisioned my gym as a sort of its own mini Elite Four and Champion fight, as either a sort of replacement for the usual in a region like Alola that originally didn't have a full league, or maybe as like a sort of practice round before the trainer faced the real thing. My outfit would look similar to Sphinx from Shadows of Almia, and my lore would be of a retired Pokemon ranger who's traveled the world and now has a deep appreciation for it. My gym would be located in the mountains, where the only way to get to me would be to take a train from each mountain to the next, where the challenger would have to take on a different puzzle based around a different aspect of the earth, including deserts, caves, volcanoes, ruins, forests, and swamps. Then they'd have to defeat a totem-styled boss Pokemon instead of the usual trainers before getting to move on to the next. And eventually they'll discover an arena made of rock and earth with tons of ground types and other Pokemon in the stands, cheering and roaring for our battle to begin. I would be sitting on a throne on top of a hill with a tree and some rocks around it, with a huge rock pillar behind me, where I would greet the player and the battle would begin. How my battle would work is that each of my 6 Pokemon are up in the stands, and their sections would start getting excited as they run down from the top and smash onto the battlefield. My first Pokemon would get the section with all the desert-themed Pokemon excited, as they'll be my Sandstorm setter. My first Pokemon is a toss-up between Tyranitar and Sandaconda. I know Tyranitar isn't a ground type, but it does evolve from one, and if Aaron can have his Drapion, I can have my Tyranitar. However, if that bothers any of the audience, then I can replace him with Sandaconda, as the main goal of my first Mon is to set up Sandstorm and some entry hazards. But Tyranitar can do that and hit hard, so I'd prefer him over Sandaconda. Plus, Tyranitar is based on Godzilla, and I like Godzilla. But again, I'm cool with Sandaconda, as he'd fit as a good Jormungandr or World Serpent reference. Plus, his Dust Devil inspiration really fits with my fit, so I'm cool with him too. Tyranitar would have the ability Sandstream and he'd hold a Smooth Stone, with his moveset being Stone Edge, Stealth Rocks, Crunch, and Hyper Beam. My Sandaconda would have the ability Sand Spit and he'd hold a Smooth Stone too, with his moves being Earthquake, Stealth Rocks, Glare, and Hurricane. My second Pokemon would make everybody in the ruin sections excited, as my Golurk would fly in and do a cool superhero landing. Oh man, Golurk is just such a cool Pokemon, and he's based on the Titan Atlas, the one who held up the world, which fits perfectly for a ground-type team with the world as its theme. Plus, its arms and legs can turn into jets and cannons. How can I not have this Titan on my team? Golurk would have the ability Iron Fist and he'd hold a punching glove. His moves would be Shadow Punch, Hammer Arm, Ice Punch, and Thunder Punch. My third Pokemon would excite all the dragons in the audience like Trapinch and Gible, as a fin would cut up the arena from underground at Mach speeds, before shooting up and revealing my Garchomp. Garchomp has always been such an interesting Pokemon to me, ever since Cynthia's kicked me and my ace Pokemon's asses when we were kids. Though now we usually go toe for toe, I've never lost my respect for such a cool, dragon, raptor, jet sand shark thingy? Who cares? I've always loved Garchomp, and I loved playing him in Pokken, and I imagine this Garchomp's the same one from that game. If Sandstorm is still up, he'd use it to make himself elusive before striking the opponent with a killer combo. Garchomp would have the ability Sand Veil and hold a Rocky Helmet, with the moves Dragon Rush, Earthquake, Poison Jab, and Stone Edge. My fourth Pokemon would make all the cave dwellers go ham, as its ginormous body would pop out of the mountain behind me, spinning its spike-like propellers to float above the challenger's head, where it would then roar to the heavens. Steelix has got to be one of my favorite Pokemon. Ever since I saw Rourke and his father use these giant rock worms, I've always had to have them for myself. I know they aren't the strongest, but I've always had a special place in my heart for those two worms. Plus, it could also be a World Serpent reference. My Steelix would have the ability Sheer Force and hold a Muscle Band, with the moves Earthquake, Explosion, Iron Tail, and Thunder Fang. My fifth Pokemon would make the Volcano and Grassland Pokemon explode with excitement, as my Rhyperior crashes into the stage, making magma pop out of the earth. Another one of my favorites, and just an all-around heavy hitter, Rhyperior is an easy choice for this team. My Rhyperior would have the ability Solid Rock, and he'd hold a Pasho Berry. His moves would be Earthquake, Rock Wrecker, Mega Horn, and Crush Claw. For my final Pokemon, all the Pokemon in the stands would run wild as the heel underneath my throne would start to shake, before a giant Torterra would pop out and roar onto the battlefield. Torterra was my first Pokemon ever and has been my most loyal and trusted companion. We would fight in sync, and it would be a terrifying matchup for the challenger, especially when my Torterra's Quick Claw activates, making this giant faster than light itself. Plus, it's based on a world turtle, so not only is it my favorite Pokemon, but the perfect final Pokemon for my team. My Torterra would have the ability Overgrow and hold a Quick Claw, with its moveset being Wood Hammer, Earthquake, Superpower, and Stone Edge. If the player manages to defeat me, I would get really excited and probably give them a huge bear hug. And then of course congratulating them and giving them the Gaia badge and the TM for Earthquake. If gimmicks are at play, here's what I'd use. For Mega Evolutions, I would use Mega Steelix. It's my favorite Mega of those on my team that can Mega Evolve, and its ability Sand Veil fits perfectly with my Sandstorm based team. My Z move would be Z Ground on my Torterra, Tectonic Rage. It's a hard-hitting attack where my Torterra drills somebody to the Earth's core with magma shooting up everywhere. How could I ever miss the chance to do something that cool and powerful? For my Gigantamax, it would be Sandaconda. Underrated, thy name is Sandaconda. You know when I saw the ground-type uniform and Sword and Shield that I had to wear it and make one of the few untaken Gigantamaxes as my main. It's such a cool design, and I even used a ground-type team with him as the center in one of those online tournaments. I only won like one match, but hey, I still got my shiny Zapdos, so a win is a win, and Gigantamax Sandaconda's really cool. For Terrestrialization, I would have a Terra-type Rock Torterra. Terra-type Rock Torterra-type Rock Tor... Damn, say that 5 times fast. This would absolutely shit on most of its weaknesses, including those troublesome ice types. So I'd be crazy to not have this. Plus, I think it would be hilarious to see people send out their Weaviles and Charizards, ready to freeze or burn my Torterra before I kill those 2 birds with 1 Stone Edge. That would be perfect. Oh, and I'd also have a Sandshrew somewhere in the gym. I wasn't sure where to fit this, but I originally wanted him to be on the team holding an Eviolite, you know, as a lesson to not really judge appearances. But this was back when Sandshrew was a little higher on my list of favorites, and Golurk is too good of a Pokemon to pass up for this team. So I imagine Sandshrew is more of a mascot, or maybe like a guide/conductor on the train that tries to help lead the challengers to where they need to go. And maybe it will even help you battle the boss Pokemon if you feed it some food. And that's what it would be like if I was a gym leader. I know this trend isn't as popular as it was before, but these ideas have been rattling away at me since I missed the boat last time. So it's now or never, you know? If you want to, you can make your own video making your own gym leader and we can kinda help boost this trend again. Or you can just tell me what you'd be like in the comments. These kinds of trends are just so fun and creative, and I always enjoy them as they serve as a good creative exercise. Oh, and thanks for all the support on the Violet video. I actually had a goal this year to like double my subscribers and views and all that stuff, and we ended up doing that in little over a week into the year, so like, hell yeah, thanks everybody. I really appreciate all the views, comments, and subs y'all have given me. However, we've got to make something very clear. I'm not a PokeTuber, so don't go subbing to this channel thinking I'm going to be posting a Pokemon thing every week. I just make videos that I think will be fun to make, and it won't all be Pokemon. I mean, there will be some Pokemon, you know, I really have a lot of fun making stuff on that series, but I'm not a PokeTuber, so don't put that curse on me, man, no. Anyways, see you all next time when I do a 2-hour-long podcast on how Turo and Unga Bunga Bitch are actually alive and well in the Kalos region, which we will explore in the new DLC, the Amber Trash Heap. It's gonna have 40 plus new megas and a full national dex. My daddy works at Microsoft and is in contact with the Antarctic Leaker, so it's all 100% true, no clickbait. Like and touch tongues with the subscribe button, and don't forget to longingly stare at that fucking bell.